Huh? So start over. This is the thing about live television, that you never know what's going to happen, you know? So you got to be ready. Luckily, at 50 years in food service, I've learned to think on my feet. So, alrighty. So we actually started half of this, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So welcome to Live from the Chef's Apprentice. I'm Chef Tom Long, and this is Chef Steve Gump. He's our dining services supervisor. And thank you for coming and joining us today. So we're going to talk about Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is on Wednesday, a traditional day to celebrate Mexico's independence. And you couldn't have a Cinco de Mayo celebration without having sangria. Can you get me my empty containers? So what I started off with here was a whole navel orange because they're really big. I sliced it in half, and then I cut it into thin strips, 2 lemons, 2 limes, and that is our citrus garnish. And sangria should be made a day ahead of time if you can, and if you can refrigerate it. And if you get it to this point, so I have in here my citrus, I added some green and red grapes, I added some peach nectar. This is Goya peach nectar that you can find in the international section of your grocery store. This is much better, a much higher quality product than the canned peach nectar. Canned thing, anything canned has sodium. You got to remember that. So sliced peaches, these are IQF sliced peaches, which means they're individually quick frozen. You'll find them in your freezer section. Grocery stores now have all kinds of frozen IQF fruit because of smoothies. So, but these are nice and easy, and they show up very clean. Some orange juice, okay, and I think that takes us up to there. So if you got this ready the day before, and you had this marinating just like this. Now, if you wanted to make it alcoholic, you could add some peach brandy to it to give it a little bit more flavor, or some peach schnapps. But at this point, there's probably a good amount of peach flavoring. So the next thing we want to add is some of our bubbly. So because ours is non-alcoholic, or it's what we call a mocktail, which is a virgin cocktail, we're going to add sparkling white grape juice. So this would be done the day before. So right before you're getting ready to serve, you want to add your sparkling. Because if you did this yesterday and put it in the refrigerator, you'd lose all your carbonation. So, oh, that looks good. And this is not an expensive item. So if you wanted to do the alcoholic version, you would do a sparkling Moscato, would be a good selection for something like this. And we're going to top it off with some ginger ale, because peaches and ginger, all that goes together. Now, you can deviate any way you want on this. If you wanted to use sparkling water instead of soft drink, because soft drink has sugar, okay, you can make it any way you want. And what would be nice, I just couldn't find it at the grocery store, would be some nice fresh mint for in your glasses. But we're going to set this up, and we're going to let that blend together. Now, this is called a white sangria. So a red sangria, if you were going to do a mocktail, would obviously have some red juices in. You could have cranberry juice, grape juice, that kind of stuff. So that would be the difference between white and red. So I'm going to pull this back here. I'm going to set that until we're ready to do our final display. So I want to go over some things over here on our products, some traditional Mexican items. Of course, we have tortillas, all right, because you wouldn't have Mexican food without tortillas. Avocados, green bell peppers, jalapenos, okay. Some white cornmeal, and these are some of the spices that you can use: coriander, chili powder, ground cinnamon, ground cumin, garlic. All those things are kind of very traditional. Cilantro, but we're going to use fresh cilantro. So today we're going to show you a couple simple things. Is how do you get these if you ever couldn't buy them? Could you actually make them? Well, Chef Steve's actually going to show you how to make tortillas. And these are flour tortillas.
All right. So this morning I made a tortilla dough. It's just simple with some flour, some baking soda or baking some flour, baking powder, some salt, and you just mix it together to make a dough. You can use that, and you can do that in a food processor or a stand mixer, and just use the dough hook. So what we're gonna do is you just need to dust your counter with a little bit of flour. This helps to prevent it sticking whenever you work with it on the surface. Throw a little bit more on there. So I'm just gonna put that down. And then I'm just gonna take my knife, just cut a little bit off. And you're just gonna get like little balls of dough. Just form like little circles like so. Gonna do like 3 or 4. Just to kind of show you. And when you make the ball, just fold the dough on itself, each side, make a little sphere. All right. So we're going to move the dough ball off to the side for now. Grab your rolling pin. It's always good to dust your rolling pin with a little bit of flour. Also helps prevent it from sticking whenever you roll them out. So it's going to take that floured surface I had before, and you're just going to roll them out. And it's going to naturally spring back on you because of the gluten that's in it. Take a little more of this flour. Just going to roll them out. Should have a nice thin, just like a normal tortilla, just like so. I'm gonna get our pan nice and hot. While it gets hot, I'm gonna roll out one more. And you just roll, start by going up and then back and then to the side. Gets you nice and even thickness the whole way around the product. Just like so. All right, so once our pan gets nice and hot here, all you do, and you don't need any oil or anything in your pan, you just throw them right in. It won't take real long. Gonna wait a few minutes. And you're just gonna flip them over. When you're done, they'll be nice and pliable, just like you would use when you would make tacos or enchiladas like we're making today. They're nice and pliable, easy to make. just like so. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and we're gonna move to a natural condiment that happens, that people use in terms of tacos. And we're gonna make salsa, and we're also gonna make pico today. So you might ask, what's the difference between the two? Well, the difference between the two is natural salsa that you get in the grocery store and or when you go to certain restaurants has a lot more liquid in it. So, and they usually use a food processor. And compared to a pico, which is a lot more natural, you just cube it up, and you have the nice natural colors and flavors and all present. So bring this over. Let's start with our pico first. Some gloves on. The best tomato to use when making any kind of salsa is Aroma tomato. Has a nice freshness to it. All right. So here's our fresh tomato. Dice it up to about, I would say, 1/4 of an inch. Throw that in there. Next, we have some just regular green pepper. Save some of that for the other salsa. Some onion. Then you also have your jalapenos. Now you want to keep the seeds in whenever you cut up the jalapenos. That's where you get your nice heat from. You have your salt, pepper, and cumin. A little bit of lime juice. And you're just going to throw in some fresh cilantro. Just going to mix it on up. As you see, I'll show you in one moment, when you mix it, has a lot of nice bright colors to it. So as you can see, you got all those nice colors. You got the white from the onion, the red from the tomato, the green from the green peppers, and the jalapenos. And this is how you make your pico. All right, and the next one we're gonna make is our salsa. So for the salsa, use all the same ingredients, but they use canned tomatoes instead of fresh tomatoes. And you use the juice from them, right behind you, sir. So you're gonna pour them in here, your food processor. All right. Same thing, throw in your green pepper. Onion. Jalapenos. Your lime juice and the same seasoning, salt, pepper, cumin. And what you're gonna do, oh, almost forgot your cilantro. What you're gonna do is you're gonna turn on your food processor and you're just gonna pulse it. It mixes all those flavors all together. This is traditionally what a lot of people see in the grocery store. So as you see, the difference between the two is it's a lot more mixed up compared to the pico. It has more of a fresh component to it. All right. Just gonna pull that up. All right. Looks great.
You got you set up right here.
All right. We fried up some tortilla chips while I was in the process of making the pico and the salsa. We're just gonna line them on the tray. All right. Put that off there. And you got some chips and salsa.
All right, looks great. So most of the chips you see in the grocery store are corn tortillas. Okay, that's traditionally like Doritos are made with corn tortillas. These chips are made with flour tortillas. It's a better product for me. To me, I love taking flour tortillas, making nice and crispy, and dipping them into salsa, guac, that kind of stuff. So, all righty, good job, Chef.
Thank you.
So next, we're gonna talk enchiladas. The first thing we need to do is make our sauce. So I went to the grocery store and I bought a $4.99 roasted chicken that they sell in most grocery stores, Giant, White Store, hot, ready to go. Usually they're $5.50, but a lot of times they're on sale for $4.99. And I took the meat off the bones, and then I took all the bones and I threw them into a small saucepan and I made chicken stock. And that's what this is, okay? So this is what everybody else throws away, okay? Because you eat the chicken, you throw the bones away. Oh, you can't do anything with that. So, but I wanted real chicken stock. So we're gonna make an easy enchilada sauce. It doesn't take long as you have good chicken stock ready. And then we're going to show you how to make the enchilada filling and how to roll the enchiladas. So right now I'm getting my pan hot. I'm going to melt 4 ounces of butter. Okay. I want to make a roux. So while I'm doing this, while I'm putting this together, enchiladas, and we're going to show you 2 types of fillings today, can have all kinds of things. Enchilada is like the word quiche. Whatever you put in it is what makes it whatever kind of enchilada it is. So chicken enchiladas obviously have chicken and cheese. The other filling we're going to do today is a spinach and cheddar jack enchilada. And that should be for like a vegetarian option. So if you did want to have vegetarian option, you would want to go with vegetable stock here instead of chicken stock. Okay. All right, we're getting our butter melted. Once we melt our butter, we're going to add our flour. This is a half a cup. This is 4 ounces of flour, so equal parts. All right. Once you get that melted, you want to just turn your heat down a little bit. I don't want to burn my flour. I don't want to brown my roux. I just want to mix it up. So everybody says, oh, you use roux. That's hard. It's not hard. That's what it should look like. All right. That's kind of a loose roux. So if you added more flour, it would be a tighter roux. And then we're going to add our seasoning. I have a tablespoon of cumin, 3 tablespoons of chili powder, and chopped garlic. I'm going to mix that together. And that's actually going to help bind the roux a little bit more. And I want to cook my garlic. And I get some, oh, smell it. I can smell it. Very aromatic. I'm going to add a little bit of my chicken stock and get it going, get it mixing. All right. Now, if that chicken stock was hot right off the stove, this would thicken like really fast because you're adding a hot liquid to your roux and it doesn't take long. Okay, we'll give that a couple minutes. I'm going to bring up the heat. So our filling, now this is all the chicken that I got off of that one chicken, okay? You can't go in and buy that somewhere. I mean, they are starting to sell roasted chicken meat in containers, but this is a mixture of dark meat and white meat. Dark meat has a little more moisture. And we're going to add 2 cups of cheddar jack to this. And then a small can of green chilies. All right, just is starting to come together. You're going to see how easy these things are to put together. And you can make them ahead of time. I wouldn't make them too far ahead of time because once you dip your tortillas into your sauce and you put your filling in, it's going to get, it'll start to break down if you make them too far ahead of time. But you could make them, say, at 1 o'clock for a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock dinner. You'd be okay there. Okay, I'm going to add the rest of my chicken stock. Wanted my flour to cook out. Okay, now that's homemade enchilada sauce. So you see, I didn't buy a jar of enchilada sauce. I had spices that I already had in the cabinet. Okay, a little bit of chopped garlic. I took the bones from my chicken and made my stock, and that's what it looks like. Most people think enchilada sauce is tomato base, and it's not. All right, so Chef Steve's going to mix this stuff together. We're going to use half of this, save the other half. Yep. Okay, we got a little bit of onion and a little bit of green onion for color on the inside. And then his cheddar jack. So all he's going to do,
all this.
Yeah, because we got more.
Okay.
So all he's going to do is mix that together. Okay, this is coming to a boil. This is good. All right. So it's about where I want it. You can see the color on it. So it does have a tomato look to it, but that's from the chili powder. It's actually from the paprika and the chili powder. We'll turn that off and let that cool down. Our spinach filling. This is just frozen chopped spinach. It's the same thing you would use if you were going to make your spinach dip that everybody likes, right? So all I did was thaw that out, squeeze as much juice out of it as I can. Kind of the same combination. I'm going to add my green chilies, a little bit of onion, a little bit of green onion. This is kind of standard. And then we're going to add some cheddar jack. We actually used to, when I was the chef at Holy Spirit, this was an item that we made that was considered a vegetarian item and was considered a wellness item. Wellness being below 500 calories, below a certain amount of sodium, that type of stuff. And the staff there loved it. So you just want to make sure you mix it enough so you disperse the cheese and the spinach. Now this spinach is already sort of cooked, all right, because it was frozen in IQF, so it was blanched already. All right, so those are our two fillings. Here's our sauce. Chef Steve, I'm going to ask if you can open those up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to set up a station here, how to quick and easy make enchiladas at home.
What's how?
You kind of want to make your counter a little wet. This is one of the tricks, is make your counter wet. And then we're going to roll down some plastic wrap. And we're going to lay that right on the counter. And by making your counter wet, you see how it sticks. Okay, that's what you want. Because what this does is makes a very easy to work surface, okay, and easy cleanup. All righty. So we're going to lay that down across there. We have our sauce. I'm going to put some sauce in a bowl. And basically, you're going to dip your tortillas into your sauce.
Chef Tom, we have a question. Is there a particular type of onion you should use?
Any particular type of what?
Onion.
Onion. I like white onion, personally, for just about everything. Some people like red onion. Red onion and yellow onions are a little stronger. I like white onion as being a little bit more versatile. If you want to dice up a little bit for on top of a hot dog, whatever. But yeah, I just think it's not as strong. Some people don't like onion at all. So you can kind of get away with onion, but not as strong of a flavor.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so basically I'm dipping my tortilla into the sauce and I'm going to lay it on my plastic wrap. Okay, all I'm doing is getting it coated on both sides. Now, ideally, you would make your sauce a little bit ahead of time and you would have it cooled down. So it doesn't do that. All right. So we're going to make 3 of each kind here, just to kind of show you what they look like. And the idea is to get kind of an assembly line going, where you're kind of working on your table. And then as you make your filling, we'll do one more, just because.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to roll it, pick it up and roll it like a cigar, kind of. And then you're going to put it in your pan.
Seam down.
Seam down. Okay. And then you're going to bake them in the oven. So you got to remember the chicken's already cooked. Okay. So really all you're doing at this point is getting everything hot. Okay. So we're going to do 4 spinach tortillas also. And then when we're done here, we're going to add a little more sauce on top and then a little more cheese. And I know this looks messy, right? Because it kind of is. One more. I need a little more sauce. The idea is to get it coated on both sides. Just like that. tools. Then we want to take our leftover sauce, because you should have a little bit left. You're going to kind of drizzle them on top like that. Chef Steve, I'm going to switch places with you here. All right. And then it's kind of hard to have a good enchilada without having enough cheese. So we're going to sprinkle a little more cheese on top. And then when they come out of the oven, we're going to garnish them with green onions. And you can serve them with sour cream, extra salsa, whatever you want to do. All right, so take that. These are our vegetarian enchiladas. A little more sauce down the middle. Okay, like so. A little more cheese. And we're just going to drop these in the oven real quick. Let them finish up. So we got a couple tortillas left. This is the beauty of this system. You basically pick up your wrap, okay, just like that. Easy cleanup, okay. It's kind of an old food service trick, but it works really well, especially with kind of a messy thing like that. So, but you got to, you know, the whole thing is with the enchiladas, they can't be painted on. They need to be kind of dipped in, and you get them going, and then that's what makes them good. You got to have enough sauce. So, what we got here? Chef Steve, can you get me the next size down of this?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Got it?
Yep. Okay. So we got an entree, we got an appetizer, we got an entree. What's having a Cinco de Mayo meal if you don't have dessert? So probably one of the more popular desserts is churros. So churros, a lot of the things that you buy at the carnivals, even places like Disney World, they don't make their own, okay? They buy a frozen churro already done. They heat them up in the oven. It's easy, I get it. It's how you do it. But, and we do that here sometimes too. But truly, churros are not hard to make. I made a batch already just to kind of get an idea. I wanted to make sure it worked. Thank you. Because you can get a recipe off the internet doesn't mean it works just because it's on the internet. So we always try to try our recipes ahead of time. But if there are any culinary students on the Zoom today, the recipe is almost identical to patachoux. And patachoux is the dough that you use to make cream puffs and eclairs. So it's almost identical. One of the differences is, and I don't do this with my patachoux, but it has a little sugar in it. So the churros have a little bit of sugar on the inside plus sugar on the outside. So 4 ounces of butter. And this is half milk, half water. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to bring that up to temperature. This is a teaspoon of sugar that I spoke of, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And the key is you want to bring this to a boil and make sure it's boiling. Okay. Like I said, this is not hard to make, but you don't bring it part of the way up. It's got to come to a boil. And one of the reasons you do half milk, half water is half milk, half water has a lot less chance of scorching. If you use straight milk and bring it to a boil, you have a good chance you could scorch it.
Chef Tom, we
right.
have a question. Someone says, can you add flavoring to the churros like lime or lemon extract or zest?
Well, you could probably add vanilla. I wouldn't add anything citrusy flavored because you're going to have, you're using milk. If you did that, I would go with straight water instead of half milk, half water, if that's something you wanted to do. The thing about making a dough, you have to remember it's a formula. Okay, so if you want to add flavors, we're actually going to show you a way to add flavors to your churros, but not the dough itself. So it's boiling. I'm going to add this in. This is 1 cup of flour. I'm going to turn my heat off and I'm going to mix it. Okay. And it should come together as kind of a smooth dough. It's not going to be perfectly smooth. When you see it do that, you see how it pulls away from the sides? That's when you know you're ready. Because you got to have enough heat, okay, to make it do that. So it should pull away from the sides. It should come out almost like in one piece, like that. But I still got the heat from the pan, so I'm letting that go in there. I want to make sure the stuff that's inside my whip gets in there and gets mixed up. Chef Steve's going to bring the mixer up here. All right, so that is the start of it. This is the start of the dough. Now the rest of it is very simple. All we're going to do is add eggs, one at a time. Okay. Get that in there. Get everything off my whip because I want all of it, not some of it. All right, and that should almost just empty right in there. Should be that, should come out like just about that clean if you did it right. Okay, there you go. All right, so we're gonna put our mixer attachment. We're gonna use a whip. Okay. Could you do this with a hand mixer? You could. Absolutely. So I want to just get it to start mixing up, make sure it's bound together. And I have 4 eggs that I cracked in a bowl here. I'm just going to pour them in one at a time. While the dough is warm, the dough's got to be warm. This is how this has to work. I want to give it just about a minute or 2 in between each egg. And once you get it to the point that it's mixed together, you may have to scrape down your bowl. Well, try. Okay. Just to make sure it gets in there. All righty. And just turn it up just a little bit. Add another egg. And once the dough comes together, you'll see the difference. It will pull together and it'll start to stay it gets like ribbony is the best way to describe it. I'll try to show you the finished product, what it looks like. It'll start to clean the bowl off. It'll start to pull together. All right. Easy peasy. It's not hard. Okay. Just scrape it down one time because we got a little bit of liquid on that side. Now I'll show you what the finished dough looks like in the bowl. Okay. There you go. That's what it should look like. Okay. It should come up and be just about like that. All right. So what we're going to do is because I needed to do this beforehand, is put it in a pastry bag. So you kind of wonder how they get their shape. Well, this is kind of how they get their shape. So I made this morning, put a star tip on, and I'm going to actually go back here to the fryer, and you're probably not going to be able to see it. I'm going to pipe them in, and I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut the dough off. And it's going to drop into the fryer, okay? And then I'm going to fry them on one side, and then fry them on the other side. And while I'm doing that, Chef Steve's going to make a little bit of ganache. All he's going to do is heat up this heavy cream. He's going to put his chocolate chips in this bowl. And once this heavy cream gets good and hot, he's going to pour that over the chocolate chips and just let it sit for a minute or two while I'm frying this up. And we're going to add a little bit of chili powder to our ganache because it is Cinco de Mayo. So we want to have a little bit of a spicy chocolate sauce. So, okay. So while I'm frying this up, not much of a left-handed scissor cutter. Now these are going to take about 2 minutes on each side to brown up. Okay. And once we get them done, once they come out and they're fully cooked, they don't take long. The ones we did this morning were absolutely delicious. They were nice and light and airy. Now you're going to heat your cream, pour the cream over top of it. Yep. All right, we're starting to get color. Because I'm kind of a rookie churro maker, mine aren't perfectly straight for what you're used to. But it's okay because this is how you can tell if they're homemade. And all I have here is a blend of cinnamon and sugar, okay? And I'm gonna pull them out and I'm gonna get my churros. I want them to dry a little bit on a paper towel before I put them in my cinnamon and sugar. And then we're gonna set them up on our plate.
Chef Tom, we had another question. Would an air fryer work as an alternative frying method?
No, they wouldn't because you gotta have shortening and casing it. In other words, they have to be deep fried. Now, could you start them in oil and finish them in an air fryer? You could.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, they're starting to look good. How's our ganache, Chef?
It's coming.
Okay. Okay. I think we're just about there. Okay, so this is kind of the finished product. I'm just going to glove up to get these things where I want them. Could probably put that right on top of there. Well,
It's just about there.
so if you want an easy trick to make ganache, it's in the microwave. Take a cup of chocolate chips, fill it with like a liquid measuring cup, something like this. Fill it with chocolate chips and pour heavy cream on top of it and heat it up in the microwave and stir it, and it comes out real quick and easy. But we don't do anything real easy. We want to show some skill. All right. Chef Steve's going to give me some ganache in that cup. What I have here is our churros. Now you want to do this while it's warm so they stick. If you did them, they were cold, they wouldn't work as well. Okay. Real easy. It's okay if they're not perfectly straight. These are artisan churros, so you want them to be kind of homemade, have a homemade look to them. They smell really, really good. It's kind of a fried Mexican donut. And what you do is you serve them with a couple. I know somebody had asked about adding flavor. The best way to add flavor is in your dipping sauces. So if you make some dipping sauces, and what we have here a salted caramel sauce. Oh my. Okay. Churros with salted caramel sauce and spicy chocolate ganache. We have 2 types of salsa with our own chips that we made. I have my sangria over here. Chef Steve's going to check on the enchiladas to see where we are. I'm going to set that up for display, because you got to have a celebration. All right, which is which?
I think that one's the spinach.
Okay.
No, this one's a spinach. I'm sorry.
So our final product.
This is the spinach.
Put that there. Okay, as we have our enchiladas, we have the spinach, we have the chicken. These are green onions, Chef.
Right over here.
Okay.
I'll go grab them.
We're going to do a little bit of a garnish on top. Like I said, you could serve them with sour cream. Also, diced bell red pepper makes a nice garnish for something like this. And there we go. Cinco de Mayo. Easy stuff. You saw how quick and easy, economical the enchiladas are. It's not an expensive meal. Salsa, these kind of things. So this salsa you can make several days ahead of time, or it holds for several days because it's more liquidy. The pico is kind of one that should be made. It has about a 2-day shelf life just because it's diced. There's not a lot of juice to it. The churros, could you make them ahead of time? You might be able to. If you cooled them down and then warmed them up in the oven slightly, absolutely. The sangria, you can make that today for Wednesday. It would be delicious. Just don't add your sparkly till the very end because you want it to be bubbly. These here, you can get your fillings ready, get your sauce ready, and you saw how quick and easy they came together. So, do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Chef Tom and Chef Steve. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat now. We are getting some comments that it looks delicious, and I would have to agree.
It smells wonderful.
Mhm.
Let's see. It looks
Our
like,
IT folks are very lucky. They can't wait to be here when we do these.
yeah, we do have a question, I think from someone at the bookstore asking how quickly can you send that down to York?
Oh,
Down to you. It
yes,
must be Kim.
yes. Absolutely. No worries. Be there momentarily.
Awesome. All right, well, if there are no further questions, I just want to say thank you again so much to Chef Tom and Chef Steve for taking the time to share these delicious recipes with us. And I want to thank all of you as well for coming today. I'm going to put a few links in the chat. So if you just want to see, there is an event evaluation form. So please consider filling that out to let us know what you thought of today's events. There's an email sign up so you can continue to receive more emails like this, and also the Hack Events calendar. So thank you again so much.
I do have one more comment.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon me for interrupting. So I
No,
do want to let you know, if you're not aware, that while we were in lockdown, we started to do these classes and this is kind of how we started in my kitchen. We brought them back in the fall to do them once a month. And then we started to do them once a month here in the spring. Out of that project came a cookbook. So at the bookstore, there is the Chef's Apprentice cookbook. Now, these recipes are not in there because these are actually going to be in volume 2. Okay, but volume 1 can be purchased on the bookstore. And if whoever's in that bookstore in attendance, maybe you can put the link in the chat because it's sold very well so far, but it sold very well over the holidays as a gift, but it's still a lot of great ideas. The recipes there for summer salads are absolutely delicious. It's things you don't see everywhere every day. So I just want to do a shout out because it is there. $5 from the sale of each book. It's $19.95. Goes towards the Benjamin Olewine Culinary Fund for Excellence. So I would be remiss. I've been wanting to say that, and I always get to the end of my show and I forget to mention it. But this is a great time for students that are graduating. Mother's Day is coming up. Be a great Mother's Day gift. And bookstore can have it out to you in 2 days. So
Awesome. Thank you. And we did have someone put that link in the chat. So thank you. Highly encourage you guys to check that out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chef Tom and Chef Steve. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day.